Hey everybody, Nicole here from Hair of the Dog, and today on the podcast, we have my good friend Kaylee Greer from Dog Breath Photo, and her and I are both sharing the 5 biggest mistakes that we've made in our dog photography journey. So this is an episode that you definitely don't want to miss. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Nicole here from Hair of the Dog, and I am back with one of my favorites. If you are listening to this podcast currently on 1.2, 1.5, 1.75, or 2 times speed, you are going to want to put it back to 1 time speed because I've got Kaylee Greer from Dog Breath Photography back on the podcast. Hi, my friend.
What a beautiful intro that was. I'm so humbled by that intro. I love that so much. I appreciate that speedily speaking is on brand for me. I try so hard to slow down and calm down. And when I get excited, I talk really fast. And when I'm giving like talks at conferences and things, I always try to remember like Kaylee, not everybody is like from the East Coast, of like the US where everything goes really, really, really fast all the time. So, especially when I'm speaking like, overseas and there's different accents and stuff and they already can't really understand me. So, anyway, I appreciate you. Definitely don't put me on 1.5 times speed. But other than that, I am here. I am excited and I am ready.
I love it. Yeah, I speak fast too, and then you and I both get excited about something, and it's just like our heads almost pop off. So, anyway, if you guys have not heard of the previous ones, I actually was smart and wrote this down before we started the podcast instead of me being like, "Wait, hold on, I should have looked it up." You have been on the podcast twice before, episode 42. Way back a long time ago, we were talking about the secret to success in dog photography, and then episode number 150, which had a lot of laughter. It was Behind the Barkadores with myself and Charlotte. That was a hysterical episode. If you guys haven't listened to them, go take a listen. But actually,
I
do that
love
after
it.
you listen to this one. This one's going to be great.
Go with this one first. First of all, what? How many episodes have you done now of the Hair of the Dog podcast?
Oh my gosh, I think we're on like 180 something.
That is so bananas. It's so incredible. That's commitment. That's consistency. That is professionalism. Those are all the things I think of when I think of Nicole Begley. So that works. That tracks for your brand. There you go.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I can't believe it. And I know my limitations now because I knew if I didn't set it up so that if I had to do anything other than record it, I knew that I would not stick with it long term. So we set that up from the beginning. So thankful to my wonderful team and Venus, who is editing this and every single podcast you guys have ever heard. Couldn't do it without them. So
Thank you,
yay.
Venus. Shout out to Venus. Does she listen? Or well, I guess she has
She
to,
does.
right?
She edits the podcast. So.
Because she edits it, so she has to listen to all of us
Yes,
bantering on. That's brilliant.
I love it. I love it. All right. So, you and I today are going to recap our 5 biggest mistakes in our dog photography journey, which is going to be a good one. But before we dig into that, there's something pretty exciting on the horizon. I mean, there's a couple exciting things. You guys know that Kaylee and I, along with Charlotte Reeves, do the Barkas, and we have a new breed of Barkas coming up in June 2024. We're talking like a year and 3 months from now, a year and a quarter.
Nothing like
Barkivik.
planning ahead, you know?
Hey, you got to plan ahead for June in Iceland. So, Barkivik 2024, petphotographyretreats.com. Go check it out. Get on the wait list. But if you want your fill of pet photography education this year, you guys are planning something epic.
I got something so magical for you, magical for you. Before I get there, I thought real quick when you said Barkivik, I was like, how do you spell it? Do you know how to spell it?
Yes, because I've been putting the stuff together, silly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
so Reykjavik has a Y before the Javik.
Okay.
But
Perfect.
for our branding, it looked with our font that we use for the Barkas, it was just too much with the Y. So we are just Barkjavik.
Okay, that works. I think that works. Hopefully it doesn't offend the local Iceland
hope
people.
not. Yes,
Local
we love
people
the
of
Iceland
Iceland.
people. Yeah.
Well, remember when we did Barcelona and like one of the, husbands or something that had come along?
It was Connie, our chef's husband. Yeah. It's like
And he's like,
we gave
"Oh,
her a t-shirt and he's like, They spelled Barcelona wrong.
Nice and offensive.
Yeah, she's like, "No, no, like bark like a dog." He was from Argentina, so bark was not a word that he knew.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
so fair
That's so
enough.
funny. Anyway, so yes, 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 yes. Okay, so here's the thing. Step back, imagine, envision. Nicole, think about what could happen if we brought all of the absolute top rock stars of dog photography together from all over the world. This has been something I have been thinking about for ages and ages. You and I started around the same time. We started in
Yep,
the dog photography adventure space in like what, 2010?
mhm.
Does that sound
Yep,
about right? I think I
yep.
was just a little later than you. I was probably like 6 to 9 months after you, but somewhere in 2010 towards the end of it. And when we started, there it was a very tiny little landscape. And there were people, yourself included, which by the way, Nicole Begley will be involved in what I'm about to tell you coming up here. Um, but there were there were a few people, a handful of people who were like really on the front lines of dog photography even being a thing, right? Like it wasn't even remotely like a popular awareness. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
People just didn't know it existed. I mean, I think still today, sometimes when you meet people, they're like, oh, wow, really? That's novel. Like you're a dog
right.
photographer.
Yep.
They still don't really know, but I do think it's come a long, 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 long way now that there are thousands of pet photographers. Or dog photographers. But, anyway, as we first started, so there were these like legends that kind of were in the very early game. And then just over the first maybe few years of our career, just these people that just broke out and created work that was completely groundbreaking. And it was
Mhm.
anyway, it's like with all that said, these people were really like legends and really idols. I think so many of us really looked up to certain like artists in the space and personalities and brands and all this whatever. And then over the years, there just have been people that have like just blown the roof off this whole dog photography thing in a really remarkable way, which is quite rare. And they're the people that I always thought, like, I've had these dreams over the years where they're all in one building together. You know what I mean? Like, what would happen if we all were in one building together, sharing our incredibly different backgrounds and our incredibly different stories, our incredibly different techniques, and all the things that make us these really unique artists that see dogs in a certain way. And anyway, so that's kind of how this was born. And what this is Shutterhound. Ta-da! Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba! Listen, here comes the confetti. Here comes the glitter. Turn on the neon lights. Whoa! I gave you my deep voice.
I love it,
I
I love it. I'm
actually
not gonna sing because no one will continue listening to this podcast.
Fair enough. Spare us all. I was just in Las Vegas for WPPI, where I was speaking for Canon, which was very cool, but I like lost my voice pretty good over the course of the 3 days of like screaming at the trade show. So anyway, I sound a little bit raspy today, but that's okay. But anyway, so Shutterhound is a conference. It is a dog photography conference. It's like a completely niche, completely specialty. Um, it's going to be taking place for the first time ever in Las Vegas, Nevada, later this year at the Mirage Resort and Casino. And it is going to be just that, like my absolute dream lineup of all these crazy, amazing talents in one room from all over the world. So we're sparing no expense getting the like top talent in the world to come. We have instructors from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Scotland, all across the
It's
US.
ridiculously epic, and the instructor list is up now, right?
It is up now. So if you go to shutterhoundconference.com, you'll learn everything you need to know there. But basically, right on the main page, if you just scroll down just like half a page, you'll start to see that like speaker list populate.
Yep.
And it is like bananas. I mean, Nicole Begley will be there sharing all of her magical knowledge on business,
Oh,
running a
I
pet
have
photography.
some new talks I'm putting together for this because I'm like, "Oh, none of my same old won't do for Shutterhound." It is going to be, oh, so
Ah,
good.
I'm so
So
excited.
good.
Thank you. Yeah, we have Charlotte Reeves and Craig Turner Bullock from Unleashed Education. They'll be there. We have Ewan Shane from Muttley's Snaps in Scotland. We have Alicia Zimsarowska. She taught me how to say it from Poland, who is the like one of the most unbelievable like living artists in our industry. I can't
Mhm.
get over her
She's
work.
incredible.
She's inspired an entire generation of dog photographers that have come after her. I mean, she inspired an entire continent, basically.
I
A
would
lot of
say
the work.
world,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, I
but
think
yeah, for
so. I
sure.
feel like a lot of the work
Yeah.
that comes out of like Europe looks
Yep,
a lot
agreed.
like her. It's like in her style that she kind of came up with when she was, oh gosh, 17, 16, 17 years
Wow,
old.
yeah.
She's so young still. I mean, I think she's 26, 25, 26 now. We have Elke Vogelsang from Germany. She's been my favorite dog photographer since day one. I mean, when I would be interviewed early in my career, in the first few years of my career,
Uh-huh,
and they
I
would say,
remember.
yeah, like, who's your favorite dog photographer? Like, who's your other, if someone wanted to look up another dog photographer, who would you suggest? It was always Elka.
Yeah.
So she's coming. We've got Alex Kearns from Australia, who's a freaking powerhouse photographer and businesswoman. I'm so excited for you to meet her. I mean, the list goes on and on. We just yesterday, I'm so excited about this. We announced Carly Davidson, who is the photographer behind the wildly viral Shake series, which
Yep.
is these photographs of dogs basically like shaking off water. Like in studio typically on a back backdrop, so you can see like all the like the little droplets of water like frozen in midair all around the dog, and she's done like some crazy breeds like really really fun like flappy face breeds.
Oh,
You know what I
yes.
mean? Like
Yep.
mastiffs and
Yep.
poolies and things where like there's a lot of motion, and she's just incredible. I mean the list quite literally goes on and on. I am
Well, I wanna
so
talk
excited.
to Andrew Knapp, who does the Finding Momo books because, my horse is named Morocco, and I call him Momo, so I think we need a spin-off series of Finding My Momo.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I love it. Yes. Andrew Knapp is so unbelievable. He created a series, yeah, called Find Momo, and I don't know, it's probably like it probably went like crazy viral like 10 years ago maybe, and ever since then he's had this series going where he seems to put out a book every year or two in the Find Momo series, which is him traveling around North America because he's from Canada, and in his van, living in his van, kind of traveling to epic places with his dog and photographing his dog in these like wild landscapes. But he does it in such a way where it's kind of like Where's Waldo?
Yeah, I love
Where
it,
you
I
look at
love
this
it.
huge landscape and you see little Momo with his little eyes peeking over the top of like a cactus or something. It's just darling. And I mean, he is such a powerhouse. He's got like 650,000 followers or something on
It's
Instagram. So
crazy.
he's very, very well loved, and he's incredibly kind. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. We've got Sophie Gamond, who is another personal idol, like proper hero of mine. She's the one who had the Pit Bulls and Flower Crowns
Right.
series go incredibly viral. That's called Pitbull Flower Power. But she's also, written 3 or 4 books. So basically, what this is if you go to like a Barnes and Noble, for example, if you are listening to this from outside the U.S., Barnes and Noble is like our biggest bookstore chain. So if you go into a
Probably
Barnes
the
and Noble,
only remaining one.
I know it is, it is. If you
So
go
sad.
there and you go into the, like, dog book section, this is basically a who's who of those book titles that are on the shelves there in the bookstore, because I think everyone on the lineup, except maybe 1 or 2 people, are authors, including yourself, Nicole.
Yeah, yeah. That's
So
crazy. Oh
wild.
my
So
gosh, it's gonna be so just, absolutely incredible. I can't wait.
and the Mirage where it's taking place is so cool. I absolutely love Las Vegas. I know Las Vegas, believe me, I realize Las Vegas can be, a bit of a polarizing place because it's so busy. There's so much energy, and we're finally, the world's opening back up again and everybody's getting back into groups, and like what an amazing electric feeling to be in a group of your same people, like your
Mhm.
people where you feel so inspired, you feel so moved and motivated, and so it's really awesome to be able to be together again. But the Mirage, we looked at like 4 or 5 venues in Las Vegas, and the Mirage like won by a landslide because it is going to be such a special home for Shutterhound. And they have such a the venue is like brand new and so just bright and airy and clean, and also they have a gorgeous pool area, which is where we're going to hold Junie, my dog's name, by the way, if you guys don't know, is Junie, and she has 3 legs, so she famously can't swim. So this party is called Junie's VIP No Swimming Poolside Party. And the tagline is Junie can't swim and neither can you.
It's hysterical. So, you guys, whether you're like actually like, I don't know, I definitely even if you already have plans and you can't come to Shutterhounds, you're not even gonna look at the website. No, no, no. Go read the website because it is the funniest, like, just I was actually looking in last night just cracking myself up and, like, I'm going, spoiler alert, I'm already going, and I was reading it all, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm dying." It was so funny. So, go read it, check it out, and if it speaks to you, 100% should join us real quick, and then we'll actually start getting to our 5 mistakes. I promise we're bringing those for you guys, but there is a big deadline coming up, in about 10 days from when this will air. And what is that deadline?
Oh, 10 days from when this will air. My
Yeah,
gosh.
right.
You are good. You guys are good. You are quick over
Well,
here at Hair of the
21,
Dog.
21. That's 10 days. That's easy math.
Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. Good job. Super smart, my friend Nicole Begley here. Yeah, so they're currently right now for Shutterhound, we have the early bird pricing going on. That is only that started in January and is only going until the end of March. So March 3rd. How many days are in March? 30, 31.
31.
31, you just said that. Okay.
It's all good. I've
So
got a
March
calendar on my wall.
March 31st is the last day to get the current pricing before it bumps up to the regular pricing. So obviously a great time. Like if you're serious about going, then obviously just, save that money. $200 difference, I think. God, don't quote me on that. I'm terrible that I don't know. I do believe though it is $200 savings if you buy it before the early bird pricing ends. And there will be. So what happened was on launch day we were totally blown away. We got. I mean, such a crazy response on launch day, which was on January 1st, that we sold out of our entire Mirage room block at the hotel. So we were just there, like I said, for WPPI, where I was speaking for something else. So we got to meet up with our team at the Mirage, and they opened up like an extended room
Oh,
block for us. So
nice.
we have a little bit more now, so that people can actually stay on site because it sold out so quickly on the first day. So that's a little bit of a part of why you just want to make sure you get on it so you can stay at the
Mhm.
actual hotel. But I had something else to say and I forgot because my brain moves at 100,000 miles an hour. Oh yeah. So when we opened it on lunch day, there was a special VIP ticket option. There was limited though because the VIP ticket includes a like private one-on-one portfolio review with any instructor of your choice, but each instructor only has so many slots, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that sold out within quite literally 6 minutes of us opening. But
Wow.
now that we've announced a couple I can't believe it. I'm so blown away by that. It's crazy. But now that we're announced a couple of new speakers since the launch day, those speakers will have their VIP slots being going up for sale. But there are a number of people waiting on a list to get those spots.
Yeah.
However, if you do look on the early bird and you want to get that, but you're interested in a VIP as well, just shoot us an email at info@shutterhoundconference.com. We'll make sure you're on the short list to know when the VIP opens up. So if you want to upgrade, you can. But I think there's only like no, I think there's like 8 more coming. But
Okay.
yeah, there may be more than 8 people on the list already. I have to double check. Kind of Sam, my partner Sam is kind of the one that's on top of all the actual nitty-gritty of everything. But anyway, just email us if you have any questions about that. But that is that I am so excited. I could throw up everywhere, glitter and rainbows and
I
magic
mean,
puke.
how many heads will explode in Vegas, do you think? I think quite a few.
I know mine for sure. Mine definitely. We have
I
all
love
kinds
it.
of surprise stuff too that's going to be happening that we haven't like announced yet or anything. So just you stay tuned. I can't wait. This is going to be the most epic event for photographers to ever exist. And I can't believe my dream, by the way, the one that woke me up every night at like 2:30 a.m. going, "Oh my god, how could I get all these people in one place together for 10 years?" Now, I can't believe it's finally coming true. I truly can't.
It's
I am
amazing. It's
so
amazing.
excited.
It'll be incredible. Oh my gosh. All right, guys, go check it out. Go check it out. We'll remind you at the end of this podcast, and all the links will be in the show notes as well. But we should start diving into our 5 biggest mistakes that we have made in our dog photography journeys.
Yes, because
Yeah.
famously the podcasts with me on them go too long, don't they?
No.
Which is
No.
why Venus has to speed me up when she edits me.
No, no one speeds you up. You do that all
Alright.
on your own.
Oh, that's natural?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's actually funny. I listened to, if you guys don't follow Kaylee's Adventures in Dog Photography podcast, it's fantastic. I was honored to be the very first guest, and so I was listening to that one, and we recorded it when we were in Spain, and the intro that you guys recorded for that one was like 25. I mean, it was highly entertaining because it was it was hysterical, totally worth it. But I'm like, Wow, this is an intro.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
that's
there's
right. One night I was like, "Sam, we don't have a lot of time tonight. We gotta make this one quick. We really have so much to do right now. Like, it's crazy the amount of plates we're spinning with like our business, dog
right?
breath photography, with Shutterhound, with all the stuff I'm doing for Canon. So it's like, all right, just like 45 minutes, and literally that one was 2 full hours long. That was my attempt at being fast.
I love it. I love it. All right, well, I'm gonna keep us on track. Boom, 5
Boom.
mistakes. I think we should just go back and forth. Do you wanna go with your
100%. So what we're gonna do, here's the
countdown?
style.
Yep.
We are gonna
Oh, okay.
start at number 5. We're gonna
Okay.
Okay, so it goes from 5 to 1, 1 being the worst mistake that we have ever made, and slash kinda like the lesson we learned from it, right? Because, like, when I first started in dog photography, like we said at the beginning of this episode, there really wasn't anyone to talk to about it. There wasn't
Mhm.
anyone to learn from, you know? It was kinda like stabbing in the dark a little bit and hoping you kind of hit a target, here and there sometimes, and we kind of had each other, but like we were both so new that we didn't really
Right.
have a lot of advice for each other yet. So I thought, my God, how amazing would it be if, like I could go back in time and hear someone tell me, like, all right, here are the worst 5 mistakes that I've made. So you don't have to make them. So just listen to this. And then here's the lesson that we kind of got from it and what we changed going forward. So yeah, we'll start at number 5. We'll count down to number 1. And I might just have a few honorable mentions that I couldn't fit on my list because I've made a lot of mistakes.
Haven't we all? Haven't we all? All
All
right.
right, you start.
Number 5. Okay. Number 5. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Shooting in people's backyards because
Oh my
I
God, this is
didn't
on my
have
list.
the cojones to tell them no.
100%. This, Nicole, exact thing is on my list.
Is it?
Exactly.
That's
Like,
amazing.
100%, the exact same thing is on my list. So, see, there you go. Don't shoot in people's backyards. Now, I'm sorry. You continue because I have a million things to say, but I'll wait till I get
Okay.
to it on
All
my
right. Sounds
list.
good. I mean, this isn't a hard and fast because some people's backyards, they live on like 5 acres of amazing, gorgeous forest. Yeah, 100% I'll shoot in their backyard, but I will not shoot in the like suburban backyard with the white fence. And, and before I was, oh, nervous. Like I wanted to please my clients and I didn't have enough confidence in the fact that like I'm responsible for creating the outcome that they hired me for and sometimes I need to just tell them no, if you want it to look like this, we can't go there. So, and now in the fact actually I just tell them, I don't shoot in backyards. I will Google sometimes their if they want to. I say, oh, let me look into it. And I'll like kind of Google their address and Google Maps it and you can kind of get an idea. And if it is a big, beautiful property, I will say yes, but otherwise, nope.
100%. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Okay, because these lessons are real, right? Because the same exact thing for me. So, okay, mine came slightly later in my list. I have that as my number 2, actually. So it was pretty high up there. But it's okay because I have a million things. So I'll switch out my 2. Uh, One time, okay, this is so funny. I had so many bad backyard experiences at the beginning because I echo every single sentiment that you had,
Uh huh.
where you're so grateful to people for just hiring you at all. They're like,
Right.
yeah, whatever, okay, like whatever you want, like you're so amenable and you're so like sweet and polite and to a fault though, like you
Yep.
you kind of like have to understand that you are the expert, like you are the master of your craft, right? And you need to, in the politest, kindest way possible, to kind of dictate how that shoot's going to go because it falls on nobody else except for you what those
Hmm.
final images look like. I had so many shoots in a row at the beginning, maybe say in the first year, where I would go to someone's, house, and in the backyard they'd like, yeah, I have a really nice backyard. Let's do it back here. Like the dog's comfortable here, all this. I'd go into the backyard and it'd be like maybe like, March. And so there was like this old closed up pool,
Oh,
like off
oh,
season
yeah.
pool with like the pool cover on it,
Dead
right?
leaves in the corner and, like,
Yeah.
dead plants in the planters. Oh,
Yes,
yep.
and like bad, like children's disused like playground materials, like, you know what I mean?
Like,
And
"You can
like,
make magic here, right?"
oh my God, so bad. And you realize like you shoot it and shoot it and shoot it and do the best you can while you're cringing inside your head. And then later you go to deliver a gallery and you're like, yeah, there's like a plastic, a bright yellow plastic like ball in the background or a tarp in the background of
Right.
every photo. What am I doing? Like, obviously, this isn't ideal. But I will say one time I had a client who suggested their backyard, and this was like maybe 2 years in where I was starting to get a little more confident. So I was like, actually, I don't really offer sessions in people's backyards. Like, we really have to go to like a park or a special, like, bespoke place that we curate, and all this. And they kind of insisted. And I was kind of like, no, I got to stand my ground. I'm not doing this anymore. So I was like, no, I can't go there. And then finally, I think they wanted to not to be humble, you know what I mean? But they were
Yeah.
finally like, listen, I live on like ocean cliffs. Like I live, and I was like, wait, what? So I like Google Maps their house.
Uh-huh.
They quite literally lived in like a 10 to $15 million mansion directly on the ocean with ocean spray, like white caps
Like,
coming into
"Never
the
mind, we can
backyard.
shoot there. Your backyard, yes. Also, can I bring clients to your home?"
Seriously, there were like these rocks in the ocean. There was like this amazing, like manicured lawn with like flowers everywhere looking over the ocean. And I was like, oh, my bad. So, yes, don't shoot in people's backyards unless they happen to have a $10 million estate, in which case you're fine.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Alright, well, what was your number 5?
Okay, so my number 5 is set super clear boundaries, part 1. So this gives you a little hint that part 2 might be coming later. Part 1, and this is, if your policy is that like you don't photograph families, for example, or like large groups
Mm,
of people or children, be really clear about that. You can say, like, I am a dog photographer. You may or may not allow people to jump into a shot or two with their dog if you want like a nice owner dog portrait. But if you're like not interested in shooting like big family shots where everyone's got like matching clothes or whatever, then you can say that. But again, at the beginning, very similar sentiment to what you were saying about the backyards is, again, I was just so grateful to my clients that I was just like, yeah, anything you need, kind of thing. And I wasn't very strong in my boundaries. And,
mhm.
people, I was like a wet noodle, you know what I mean? Like people could sense that from a mile away and like they'll walk all over you. So I had this one shoot once where this girl booked for a German Shepherd puppy. And I was really excited about that. It was, again, like kind of earlier in my career. I was like, oh, I got a puppy.
A
Like,
puppy!
yeah, I rarely get to do puppies. This was at the time. Currently now I shoot with Sam, who's my partner in life and my partner in business. So I always have at least other person with me, like assisting on location. But this is back when I was always alone. I didn't bring anyone. I was totally by myself. So I roll up to the shoot location. We plan where to meet and everything, and I'm so excited. I have everything ready. I have my peanut butter, my treats, all my crazy dog stuff, right, for this German Shepherd puppy. And then I roll up to the location and I get there, and like it was a little bit busy of a parking lot, you know what I mean? So I was like kind of trying to eye out where my client
Right.
was, and really all I knew to look for was the puppy. It was going to be pretty obvious, right? A German Shepherd puppy. So I'm like looking around, and I get to the main part of the park, there's all these groups. There's lots of groups. It was like a Saturday, right? So there's like picnics and like there's a lot of people. So I'm like, man, I don't see a German Shepherd puppy anywhere. And in my head, I'm looking for like maybe a woman and a dog, or maybe a woman and like her partner and their dog or something. Very simple group. Well, I see this group of people, and I'm not kidding you. And I say like 14 people, and they were all dressed matching. They were all matching, like they had jeans and like a beige shirt. They all had the same. They looked like they were in a cult or something. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, and I looked at them and I thought, oh, some poor sap of a photographer is going to show up
That's
and that's
their
going to be their
day.
client. And I was like, that sucks. That's my nightmare. I never want to photograph like a huge family group. It's not my forte. I'm not interested in that. So anyway, I look past them, like, thank God, and I'm looking for the dog. And then suddenly I glance back towards that group, and this little tiny German Shepherd puppy peeks his face out from between the legs of the 14 people. And I'm like, oh my God. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Holy shit. I am in trouble. So I'm like, no, I'm by myself. What do I do? So I go over there and I meet the woman, and she's like, oh my God, Kaylee. And I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, so hi. So like, gently being like, what's going on here? And she's like, oh yeah, so my family thought they would come along. We thought we would do some family portraits as well, on top of I'm like, oh no. And I didn't know what to say. And I was by
Right.
myself. So you're just like, okay. But I felt so used. I felt so like my boundaries were so broken and overstepped in that moment. And I realized later that like I kind of was my fault because I wasn't like exceptionally strong on the fact that that's not what I do. And it
Well,
was
yeah, and
awkward.
those lessons are the lessons that teach us like, "Oh, well, this obviously needs to go in my client education now."
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
this
Thank
is
you.
something that I say to different clients of, "Hey, just you, your immediate family, who are we photographing? You, your husband, your dog? Great. That's the only people that should come." Or unless maybe
Exactly.
they have 3
Exactly.
dogs, yeah, you can bring 1 helper to help handle dogs. That's it. Like, no.
100%.
Yeah.
And, like, and I ended up just, like, sucking it up and doing it, and
Now,
we
which you
spent the next
almost have to at that point though,
right,
because it's
yeah, it's
like it becomes a
everyone's
lesson
there.
on us of like, well, okay, mental note for next time, I need to say no to this before even,
Right.
even though they didn't
Exactly.
necessarily ask.
It
Yeah.
was kind of on me, so, I ended up spending the next, close to 3 hours dealing with freaking family shots and posing people, like, "Listen, that is not what I do, and I'm not good at that,"
No.
so, that's terrible, and then very quickly to add on to that is just I'm kind of at this point in my career now where we have, like, a waiting list, we can really pick and choose our clients. I'm kind of a little bit of a stickler about no kids at my
Yeah.
shoots as well. I know that makes me sound like a monster, but as you dog photographers, we all know that the energy is so important at a dog photo shoot, and kids, as like adorable as they can be and as fun as they can be to photograph sometimes with dogs, their energy is usually off the freaking charts, and it usually is very, very hard to deal with all of that energy with a child as well at the
Yeah.
photo shoot. So usually I say, if your kid is like out of the stroller, then I'd really prefer you have them wait at home with like a grandparent or a babysitter or whatever. So I'm pretty serious about that now. But that's my number 5.
I love it. All right. Okay, number 4, number 4. My number 4 is my mistake was always thinking that I'm too expensive
Ooh, that's such
because
a good one.
yeah, I mean, how many times have you looked at your price list and you're like, "Oh, oh, I'm too expensive. No one's gonna pay this." Or when you get the inquiry that gets back to you and it's like, "No, it's too expensive." And then you just question all your life decisions and you start
100%.
to go down like, "Oh, they're right. I'm never gonna make it. I'm gonna starve. No one's ever gonna hire me again. Oh my god, I should lower my prices. What am I doing? Like I should just give it all away. Maybe I should just do an all inclusive with just in digitals at like, like $500. Let's do just $500." And you just go into the spiral of just questioning everything. And we've all been there. And so, a couple of different things for that is if you are starting to find yourself questioning this, number 1, have you done the proper work to like actually figure out what you need to charge to be profitable? Like, do you know your cost of doing business? Do you know what your cost of goods sold are? Do you know what your profit margin is? Like, how much money do you need to make to reach your goals? How many hours are you taking? What's your hour per rate? If you need help doing all of these, come to the academy. This is like my jam is to break down your business and your pricing and all the things. And then, okay, you know why you're pricing that way. Because I think a lot of people, if they are feeling like I'm too expensive, it's probably because they didn't do this math in the front end of it to realize like, "Oh, yeah, okay, it is expensive, but it needs to be to reach my goals." Like, they might have just pulled some numbers out of thin air, so they're like, "Well, what am I doing?" And then the other piece of that is who gets to decide what expensive is? Like, what's expensive to one person is not expensive to another. So, we don't get to make that decision. We just put our prices out there, share what the value is, and let people make a decision if they are going to spend it or not.
100%. Absolutely everything you said is so spot on. And you personally fixed me years ago. You
Oh,
fixed
I
my
yelled at you
pricing.
in a lovely in a nice
You
supporting
had a
way.
nice sit down, a serious sit down with me, and you helped me fix and rearrange everything. And I mean, I am so grateful for that because I am absolutely 100% the victim of that same thing where like I am not my client, so I have to stop
Mhm.
thinking of it from my like broken money mindset background. And now we just raised our prices again, and we've got the lowest price to even get in the door now. It's $8,000, which is
Whoa!
insane. I
Oh my gosh,
know.
I wanna take that price list back to 2016 Kaylee sitting there on that table in, Barcelona at our
Yep.
fancy little house for Barcelona and see what 2016 Kaylee would say to that.
I know. She would be appalled, appalled, and her head would pop off of her body with all of the a mixture of rage and joy. And proper disbelief. It's crazy though.
I
It's
love it.
crazy, and probably in 2016, I think I was charging 4 or $500. like for a session, and then you'd have like the prints and
Yeah.
products after, right? And now we do a bit
Uh-huh.
of a different model, so it's like all inclusive, like a
Yep.
wedding photographer. But Nicole came up with that idea, so thank you. God bless you.
I love it. I will take that challenge on any day, and I love, an extreme makeover pricing edition. Dun, dun, dun.
Heck yeah. And that's why you got to come see Nicole Begley at Shutterhound, the conference, September 5th, 6th, and 7th.
That's right, because 'cause we're gonna put some more money in your pockets, and there might be a dance.
Yeah. Oh, God, I hope there's a dance. We're all banking on a dance from Nicole. All
I love it. Alright, what's
right.
your number 4?
All right, number 4, set super clear boundaries, part 2. And part 2 is this, which was my issue for the longest time because, again, I didn't have any, like, boundaries because I wanted to be so sweet and so lovely to everyone, which was I personally didn't do in-person sales, so I had put
Mhm.
my images up in galleries online for my clients. I do a lot of travel work. So I'm like all over the country, sometimes all over the world. My sessions are not like close to home all the time. Sometimes they are, but usually not. So IPS was kind of weirdly out for me. So I put them up in a gallery. Let's just say, for example, like a pixie set gallery, and I showed them to my clients. And back in the day, I wouldn't even say that they had to pick within a certain time. I just like, here's your gallery. And then they'd be like, "Oh, thank you." And then like, "Goodbye." Like they would just disappear. I mean, really, 8 out of 10
Dun,
people would
dun, dun.
just
Is this thing on? Anyone? Hello?
they would disappear off the face of the earth. And it was, again, really my fault because I didn't put any, like a boundary timeline of like, listen, now we say you absolutely have to pick within 7 days. And if you don't pick within 7 days, here's basically these are
Right.
the repercussions, these are the next steps. And really the biggest repercussion, yes, there's quote unquote a gallery re-upload fee, which to be honest, we've never ever charged, but at least they know it's there. And then also the other thing is that at this point in time, because we're so busy with dog breath photography, we say if you don't order within your timeline, within your 7 days, you then get put to the back of the queue. And the back of the queue typically takes 9 months to a year for you to get your photos.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
usually that kicks people's ass into gear. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
like, I just got to do it. Like I want my photos. So I do have people that still let it go, even with that, but it's the percentage is tiny compared to
Yeah.
how it used to be. This is a really quick example. I used to not really have like a timeline on having people approve their artwork proofs. Oh, and
Mhm.
actually this could be a whole other bullet point in and of itself, but I used to not have artwork get like
Mhm.
approved by the client until I had issues with a couple people sending things back going like, "Hey, what's that thing on the light pole way in the background of this photo of an alleyway in Boston?" And I'm like, "That's a light. It's the light is on in the inside the light pole or whatever inside
Yeah.
the like the bulb is turned on." And they're like, "But why is it a circle?" And I'm like, "That's called bokeh." Like lights turn into circles when they're in the background. And I had to explain it. And then they're like, "I don't want it." And then I would have to like change out a whole expensive acrylic or metal or
Mhm.
whatever because of my stupidity of not just like having them look at the damn thing before I print it. So now I do
Mhm.
that. But the point of that is that I used to not have a timeline on when they had to approve it. Most people would be like, "Yeah,
Mm.
awesome. It looks great. Print it within a day or two." But this one guy that I had, he like got the proof for, and it wasn't even a big deal. It was like a medium art piece. It wasn't a big deal. And he's like, "Oh yeah, thanks for sending that. I'll take a look at it like tomorrow." And I'm like, "Okay." Tomorrow comes and goes. The next month comes and goes. The next month comes and goes. By the time he approved it, it was 10 months later.
Wow,
And
and you
he
guys were
oh
following up. It's not like you sent an email and like, "Oh, okay, I'll never send one again."
Yeah,
Like, you
exactly. We
yeah.
were following up like every 2 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think what happened was Sam, who's kind of my studio manager, said, "Listen, if you don't approve it by this date, where you forfeit like the art piece." And I don't
Yeah.
even know that he could actually technically say that because I don't think that's in our contract, but that's
Right.
something to learn going forward. You know what I mean? So like whatever. I think that's what he finally said to get the guy to just do it. So then they get the art piece, and then the first thing we get is an email back from him going, "Oh, I really wish I would have had a different frame on this," or whatever. But he picked the frame. He approved the art piece after 10 months and goes, "Yeah, it all looks great." And then once he got it, he immediately had a problem with it. It was awful.
Oh,
It was absolutely
yes.
awful. But anyway, strong time limits, be serious about them, set the expectation many times throughout the process. At
Mhm.
the beginning, upon inquiry, again at the shoot when you see them, again at the end of the shoot before you leave. Like say it a lot. Often it's okay to repeat it often in a very polite way as long as you're positive about it, because I don't think people intend to disrespect you like that, but when time gets away from them, I think they start to get almost like embarrassed to come back. They're like, "Oh my
Right,
god,
yeah,
I've let it go like
100%.
6 months. I don't wanna write her. I'm
Yeah,
nervous," or whatever. So just set up your boundaries so that your time is respected.
I love it, I love it. Okay, what are we on? We're on 3.
Yep.
Alright, so my number 3 is, let go, or my biggest mistake was a belief that every inquiry had to be my client.
Oh, that's so good.
Mhm.
Yep.
You know, you get the ones that you know are not a right fit, but for whatever reason of just like, "Oh, but I could really use that other client." Like, I could use another client, not use that other client. That sounds terrible. You know what I mean? I could
Yep.
use another client in my schedule. "Oh, but, sure, yeah, oh." And then when they would say whether it was the expense or this or that, like, it just became this personal thing of just like, a reflection on their acceptance of me and my worth as a human,
Oh my
whether
gosh, I'm with
people
you.
booked me or not. And it took me a little while to figure out, okay, my worth is not tied to who's booking me and who's not booking me. And also, if they are not a right client, let them go. Like, there is no reason to say yes to these extended family sessions with the puppy German Shepherd. There's no reason to say yes to, I've had some of those where I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Like with adult children and the parents and the dog, that is
Mhm.
really like a all adult family shoot. I'm like, oh, no, no. And same thing for people that maybe contact me and want a really specific style. That's not what I do.
Yep.
It's, I'm sorry, I don't do that. And if I know someone that does, I'll send that recommendation. But yeah, just not feeling like you need to book every single client inquiry that comes across your way.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Preach it because I hear
Yeah.
you on that. Because I have been the person that's taken the red flags on over the years, being like,
Uh-huh.
oh, no, maybe it's just
We
like a
all
fluke.
have. We've
Right.
all taken the red flags. And the ones
Yeah.
we know we're like, "Oh god, that's
Yep.
a big red flag. I'll take it anyway." And then you're
Yep.
kicking yourself
A
the whole
100%
time you're
every
going through
time.
that whole process because 'cause you're like, "I saw this coming. I saw this coming. Why did I say yes to this?"
It's
Yeah.
like science. You're like, it's the science of a red flag is that if it exists at the beginning, it will just like amplify itself throughout. I
It's
one
a
time had
law
a
of the universe.
One time I had a woman who offered me baked goods in trade for the shoot because she like worked at a bakery and she wanted to bring cookies and she was like, that could be payment. Does that work for you? And I was like, whoa, I'm so sorry. Like, I really appreciate it. I do really like cookies. I'm a human being. I like cookies, but it's not how many cookies would you have to bring to make up the value
Yeah,
of a
right.
photo shoot? And also, like, what a weird thing to offer. That's kind of, I suppose, if you're looking at it from like, if you were to ever ask something like that, you would know that that's incredibly like rude and
Right.
presumptive,
Yeah.
but I was like, tried to be sweet. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't take cookies for payment, but I will take money. And we did the shoot. And I mean, what do you think? How do you think it went? I mean, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Everything was wrong. She didn't like the way her dogs looked in the photos. She's like, my dogs don't look like this. And I'm like, it's a photograph of your dogs. It's an
Yeah,
actual
right.
photograph. I don't know what to tell you. It's not a painting. It's not a rendering. It's a photograph, a real life
Uh-huh.
photo. So that's what your dogs look like. And and then it was just like, I want to get money back. And then wanted to cakes came into the equation. More cakes. Could I give you some cakes for the prince? So it's the whole thing.
You're like, "How many cookies and cakes do you think I eat?"
So anyway, that was a red flag that I should have just
Oh.
stuck with being like, "No, thank you."
Yeah, I had one of those red flags. It was actually, and I didn't have a choice. I had to still do the session because it was way back in the day. I was partnering with the Humane Society, shooting their calendar. It was like a weekly calendar, so they were partnering with a lot of the pet photographers in Pittsburgh at the time. God, ages ago. And so I had this one client, for this project, and she had, oh, I'm gonna mess it up. Bouvets, what?
Bouviers.
Yes, Bouviers.
I call
Um,
them the final boss of impossible to photograph dogs.
Yes, that
With the
for sure,
black
'cause they have
hair.
no eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
But she had 2 of them, and they were show dogs, and okay, apologies to anyone that's, like, in the show world out there. I know not everyone is like this, but in my experience, the people that come to me are definitely, like, really just like the personality of their dog and, like, don't mind if it looks a little goofy. But anyway, it was just like, and I think one of them, not all of them, because some of them I use my 70 and 200, which,
Mhm,
keeps normal proportions.
mhm.
But I had a couple that were like with my 24.
Right.
And it was like, My dogs don't. It's not a good reflection of the breed. I'm like, "But look how cute your dog looks."
I know, but look at his stack. His stack is 1
I
millimeter
know.
off.
Like, "Oh, yeah, no. If the word stack's coming out, not
I
my
know.
client. Moving on."
Honestly, for me too, and I know there's probably people listening to this who are part of that world and,
Yeah, yeah.
they're
And
in this
again,
show, and
nothing
that's
against you
fine.
guys. Yeah, it's
That's
all good.
fine,
It's
but
all
I
and
agree
we're
with
not
you.
saying that's everybody
I mean,
for anything, yeah.
I'm shooting every dog portrait at 11 millimeters, so I totally agree with you. Those aren't really not my people, and
Yeah.
that's okay, like you said. Okay, so for let's see, for the
Number
next
3.
one, I'm on number 3. Number 3 is don't spend too long on a shit shot.
Oh, that's a
A
good one.
Yes, admit that it's not working and move on, which I struggled with for so many years, right? Because you're on the shoot, right?
Mhm.
You roll up to the location, you're all nervous, you're excited, woo, your heartbeat's going, you're fluttering like a butterfly, and you get there and you look around and you're kind of like, okay, I've got to come up with some stuff pretty quickly, like I got to look like I know what I'm doing, right? Because they've hired me, they spent like a decent amount of money on this. You want to like prove right away that you're like good and you're a master, right? And sometimes right away you knock it out of the park and it works out, right? And then sometimes you have a shot idea. You're like, okay, I think, this spot over here, the light's going to look good. I've got this lens. I think I can render this scene to look a certain way and it's going to be awesome. Or you want to put a dog up on a log or a rock or whatever your idea is. If you go to try it and it's just like trash and you're like, oh my god, this is so bad, right? Like
Mhm.
I thought it was going to look a certain way, it's just not coming out, like there's a bad highlight in the background, you work so hard to get the damn dog up on a rock and then finally you realize that you're kind of a dum dum and you picked the wrong spot. Right? I used to really struggle and I'd like pretend. I just sit there and
Oh,
pretend.
uh-huh.
I just pretend that I'm like, okay, all right, it looks good. Meanwhile, you're wasting the dog's energy. You're wasting like your energy and time, right? Because you only have
Mhm.
so much time at the shoot. And your light's fading, and you're kind of like, just to save face, you're like, okay, this
Yeah.
is fine. And you work on it for like 10 minutes or whatever, even though in your head you're like, that's not going in the gallery because that's not worth anything. I think it's okay to like be a little like funny and self-deprecating as a joke and just be like, "Oh, that was terrible." Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can joke like
100%.
that and you can move on right away. You can tell your client like you can just joke and be like, "Oh, it's my first day with a camera," or whatever.
Do that all the time when I always, like, go to shoot and I still have my lens cap. I'm like, "Ah, first day."
Yeah, exactly right. That really inspires confidence in everyone,
Yeah.
But I just think, it's okay to just be a person and have personality and like if
Mhm.
it doesn't work, don't overcommit. Cause I even still at my shoots, I sometimes do it. Like I just feel embarrassed that I had this big idea that I talked up and then I said how I was gonna do it and it was gonna be amazing, and then it really wasn't amazing. And so I sometimes try to save face by staying there for like 5 minutes, but it's okay to just cut your losses with it and just
Yeah.
move on to a better shot.
And I will sometimes actually this is a good one, and it actually reminded me one of the other ones, it's like my didn't make my list, but should have, is when you're at a shoot at the beginning, I thought that if I slowed down for half a second, my client would obviously see that I have no idea what the hell
Right.
I'm doing.
Yes. That is such a good
So,
point.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because your
Yeah.
your heart's, like, flittering, like, you're, like, almost, like, in
Mhm.
an excited panic. We had
Yep.
the most wonderful person at our Hound Vision in Lake Tahoe, the Hound Vision workshop that we taught in Lake Tahoe, Barbara, if I'm sure you remember her. She
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
just a darling, I loved her, and when we got to the first shoot that we were doing, it was so exciting because the location was insane, the dogs were amazing, and we were all so excited, and there was such an energy, and then Barbara looks over at me and she's like, "Ah, I can't feel my arms." And I was like, "Wait, are you okay?" And she's like, "No, I'm just so excited, I'm panicking." And I was like, "Oh my god, you remind me of myself at every
Uh-huh.
shoot." It's totally like what you said. I don't really slow down. I'm like panic excited. So I
Yeah.
want to like get going and like get all these like award-winning shots right off the bat. But like you said, it's 100% fine to like cool down and like think about it.
Yeah, and
So
if you're, like, feeling uninspired, you don't know where to go next, like, maybe you have that panic excitement, but maybe you also have the actual panic where you're like, "Oh, I
yeah,
don't know
right.
what I'm doing." And I think kind of that same at that first Hound Vision shoot, the light was hard that
It was tough on
because
that
it was
shoot.
still really bright until that sun got a little bit lower, so, like, you can then get there and be like, "Oh, I need to make something magical happen." This happened to me with a client here in North Carolina last summer, and I had found this little spot on the lake, and it was October, and it was effing magic. It was, like,
Yeah.
golden, drippy, gooey sunlight through the
Oh,
trees and the water, and it was just like, "Oh my god, it's so amazing, we need to go back there." So we packed up from the one part. We had to go around like this little arm of the lake to this other spot. And we got there and it was June, not the fall. Oh, yeah, right, Nicole. The sun moves. So
That's
what
right.
used to be behind the trees was now
Right.
like boom, straight across the lake. And I'm like, oh. And
Oh.
I just like packed it up and moved him over. And we walked like, 10 minutes back into the park to get to the secret spot that's going to be amazing.
Oh,
But
perfect. You sold it.
I know, and I got there, I'm like, "Well, I can't turn around now because there's certain things when you're, like, gonna set up something on this rock or this or that, and you're like and I could sometimes I'll be like, "I have an idea. I don't know if I'm gonna like it yet, but let's try it." So that way it, like, leaves me like, "Oh, no, this is crap. Let's move on." But
Right.
that one, I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be amazing." So we got there, and I'm just like, "All right, Silhouette City, here we go. Boom." And it was amazing, and that's what they ended up purchasing for their big wall piece. But yeah, just gotta roll with those punches
Yeah,
sometimes.
oh my
Be
gosh,
careful
that's
what you
yeah.
promise.
That's such a real life example of exactly that. Exactly, that's too funny.
Ah.
So, yep, that's my number 3. Don't
All
spend
right,
too
cool.
long on a shit shot.
I love it. All right, number 2. Number 2. Well, this is a big one.
Oh, I'm excited.
Ooh, looking at pet photography for inspiration when you're starting out.
This is so good. This almost made my list. This I thought about this one, but this is so good. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
You'll get so stuck in a box if you do that.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, there is so many other places let me use proper grammar. There are so many other places that have tremendous inspiration from movies and TV shows. And when I first started, because I didn't understand lighting and the nuances of photography enough when I was first starting out, people would say that and be like, "Huh? I
Yeah.
I don't get it," until you're starting to watch certain things and you're like, "Oh, look how they lit this scene. Oh, look at the tonality in this scene. Oh," like there was one, oh gosh, I don't even know how old this movie is, probably early 2000s, the movie Traffic.
Oh, that's
Um,
a cool movie. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and like every different scene had this like color grading. So it was
Yes.
like this was blue and then this was orange. And it was just like it was so cool, and my other favorite for inspiration on lighting is, oh, what is it? It was Netflix, with Kevin Spacey, the,
Oh,
House of
House of
Cards.
Cards. That's your
Yes.
favorite one.
Yeah,
That's
it was
right.
I mean, the lighting that they would use in The
Yeah.
West Wing and The
Yeah.
Residence, oh my god, I would pause sometimes, just be like, "That is gorgeous."
Right. Like
Um
deconstruct it. Like what is it that's
Yeah.
so magical about
And
this? Yep.
yeah, it was just absolutely beautiful. So, there's so many different ways. I actually have my students do this for like trying to kind of figure out their style. Cause here's the thing,
Mhm.
when we're starting out, like we don't know anything. We're just like, I don't
Definitely.
know. I see something that I like. So I feel like I should do that. But there's so much more. Like it's okay to be like, okay, I like this and I like this and I like this. And then start learning how to do the different things. But then you start mixing it up and you start making it your own. And then you're creating this whole different brand of magic that no one else can touch. And so I tell people when they're putting together their inspiration images that it's not allowed to have animals because I feel like when it has the dog, you have this um what's the word I'm looking
Like
for? You have a bias.
subconscious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah.
subconscious bias towards it
Right.
because you're
For sure.
automatically going to like it because of the subject matter. But like maybe you're like, okay, let me look for newborn images I love. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have 2 kids and I have no bias towards, like, a newborn image because that ship has sailed, things are
That's what I
closed
like about you.
down. Not happening. Like,
Yep.
you could say, "Nicole, you're gonna photograph a newborn," and I probably would, like, scream and run away. Like, absolutely not. No.
I hear it.
Um,
I know it. I love it.
yeah, so, like, can you look for genres that you're not inspired by the genre and look at photography from that genre and find images that you like, and then that starts to lead you towards what you like about that image.
Yes, that is beautiful. That is you couldn't have put it better. I totally agree. I feel very inspired by movies and books and kind of what I can cook up in my imagination slash
Yep.
other genres of photography. Like I said, I was just at WPPI, which what is that? Wedding and Portrait Photographers International is what that
10-4.
that
Yes, I think so.
perfect. I never knew what that stood for, but I just guessed right now. I'm so smart. But it's it's all wedding and portrait stuff, right? So I was the only like dog photographer there, really. Actually, not true. I did meet a couple other people coming to Shutterhound. I was so excited.
Yay!
But anyway, for the most part, right? Like I was on the trade show floor shooting at the Canon booth with dogs, and that was kind of weird and novel because this is really like a wedding
Yep.
convention. But with that said, I mean, I I went to as many classes as I could, because I said to Canon, "Hey, if I'm there for you guys, do you mind if I get like a pass and then also like check out classes?" And they're like, "Oh, sure, like we'll get you a pass." And it was so inspiring seeing
Yeah.
these wedding photos, the way they're lit, the way they're composed, like the story, the location. It's like, holy shit, there is so much inspiration and so much talent out there in the photographic industry and the art industry and illustration, movies, so it's everywhere. Just try to look outside of your genre, which is kind of would lead into my number one. So I'll save the rest of what I was going to say for my number one. So for now, I'll go to my number two because that's what that was, right? Your
Yeah,
two.
perfect. Yep.
Okay. So number two was do not shoot in people's backyards. But since Nicole mentioned that already, which was amazing, it is going to be. I have so many, so I can just quickly sub another one in, which is say a price and then stop talking.
Ooh, I love that one.
Because okay, here's my
Shut
biggest
the heck
issue.
up.
This kind of goes back to the pricing one too for you. Like it's all
Mhm.
around the same mindset. But for me, at my shoots, I used to okay, so at the end of the shoot, I feel like communication is incredibly important, right? So I always spend like a good 10 minutes at the end of the shoot, wrapping up, saying goodbye. Oh, what a wonderful day, what a success. And then moving on to just let it retelling them again how it all
Mhm.
works. They already would have read it, they already would have signed a contract, but I always like to say, and just so you're clear, the next steps are this. The next steps are your galleries going up, your package includes this and this.
Mhm.
If you want anything extra, it's you'll see the a la carte menu or whatever. Well, if you let me talk for long enough, everything is free.
You're like, "Never mind, and then we're gonna get a discount here, and if you just, like, say, give me a call or send me a text and say, 'I really like a discount,' and I'm gonna give it all to you for free, and actually, you know what? I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna give you
Yeah,
a gift card to, like, really nice dinner, so you can,
exactly.
like, talk about the album that you wanna purchase."
You were like literally couldn't be more dead on. It's so ridiculous to the point where like Sam used to be with me, at some of these, and he would pinch me on the back of my arm when I started talking. And he's like, "Stop it. Stop talking. Let me talk." He's really good at it.
Yeah.
He's fine with saying a price and very politely and like saying what happens next. And if there's money involved in that conversation, he's not weird about it. He doesn't like flutter and get skittish. And like, I just have a lot of weird issues with money, as we know. So, like, I can remove myself from that conversation and like
Yeah.
that's okay. If you have another person who can talk about it, if you prefer to
Mhm.
keep it to email where everything's written down, and everything's clear, like that's okay too. Just do whatever your style is, but they say this in sales and negotiations. They say he who talks first loses,
Mhm.
which is
Yep.
me, by the way, because I can't stand
I
silence.
keep
I'm
mine
incredibly
going.
uncomfortable with
Yeah.
silence. So stop talking once you say the price. That is my number two.
I love it. Absolutely. Okay. So good. So good. So
Thank you.
good. Alright, number 1. Number 1.
Here it is, the big guns, the big boy we've all been waiting for.
Comparing my journey to others.
Oh, massive.
Boom. I mean, and that doesn't even matter what it is in life. But,
Exactly.
100% in photography, I mean, I remember starting out and you'd see people, like, posting, "Oh, my fall's booked. Oh, this and that. Oh, boo, 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 boo." And whatever it was like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden you would feel like completely inferior. And meanwhile, maybe I'm comparing like my first fall with somebody that's been doing this for 5 years.
Right.
And also looking at same thing with like, oh, somebody just had a $8,000 sale. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, what were their costs on that sale? What
Right.
does it cost to run their business? How many $8,000 sales have they had? Like what are my costs? Like, it you can't compare because you don't know the full story.
It is so detrimental to your mental health in every
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
To look at somebody else and think, "Oh my god, they have it all, like, and they're so perfect." Quite literally, Nicole, yesterday I was talking to Sam about something, I can't remember, something business related, could have been Shutterhound, and I said, "Nicole's so perfect."
No,
I
please.
don't I don't
Meanwhile,
know
this
how to be
morning, I'm like, "Oh
perfect.
my god," I actually had a team meeting with my team this morning. I'm like, "You guys, I am the biggest bottleneck in this business. I'm sorry. Like, we're gonna, like, figure out. You guys are gonna own more things. Like I'm sorry. Hang out. Just stick with me.
See, and it's funny, right? Because you don't see that side from, the public view of somebody is obviously, well, really not with you. You're not really too much like this. But when it comes to certain people on social media, it's very polished. It's very,
Right.
it's like a branded out, like everything's perfect. Like, don't buy into it,
Yeah.
don't believe it. I mean, it's okay to like enjoy some like content people put out and all that, but just know that like never, not everything's perfect all the time, and try not to compare. And I know people say this a lot. It's been a sentiment that's been kind of passed around for the past 5 or 10 years now, because social media has become so incredibly detrimental to
Hmm.
people's mental health. I mean, especially like girls. And I won't get too deep into it, but I was sitting on the plane on the way back from Vegas next to like a young-ish girl. She was probably like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And I could see her like scroll happening on Instagram. I was
Hmm.
trying not to like spy or like look at her
Yeah.
phone, but she was right
Sometimes you
next
can't
to me,
help it. Right.
so I'm like glancing down at what she's scrolling through. And it's like every post that she was scrolling through was like an Instagram model who had like giant fake jugs and huge Brazilian butt lifts and tiny bikinis and like ridiculous, not a single pore on their skin. And I'm thinking, God, looking at her feed, I'm thinking, God, that would destroy me. Like if I followed
Yeah.
that many like quote unquote influencers, like
Hmm.
lifestyle influencers or whatever, I would not want to pick up my phone ever again. That is so painful. And like, just, I mean, like, it's so not real, but you look at that and you're like, wow, like, I'm never going to look like that. I'm never going to accomplish that. I'm never going to have a house in
Hmm.
Greece on the blue ocean like this girl has or whatever, which it's all, fake and curated anyway. But I
Yeah.
just
It's a
kind of
highlight
felt for
reel.
her in those
Yeah.
moments. She had her head like slung really low, like this really trash body language, like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
defeated. And I'm like, how could you not be defeated when every single post you're looking at is this like insane, Brazilian model or whatever?
And
So
there's yeah, say there's a difference between following things that you find inspirational. Like maybe you're following someone that is leading more the life you want or the business you want. But the key is when you look at that feed, do you feel better and
a
inspired,
100%.
or do you feel not enough? And if you feel not enough, then you need to unfollow and you need to stop looking. Period.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, I heard a really, really fascinating stat recently, and it was talking about humans and where we come from as like cavemen, right? And the groups that we
Mhm.
associated ourselves with back in the caveman
Right?
times. And typically, your social circle at that time was no more than like 10 or 15, something like
Right?
that, right? So like that's what you are like equipped to kind of keep up with, is like maybe 10,
Uh-huh.
like your extended circle was like 15. Well, now we can see what any given human being is doing on the planet at any time. So we're talking like millions and millions of people. We're seeing all their journeys all the time,
Yep.
whether it's freaking TikTok or Instagram, it's Facebook, it's movies, it's Netflix, it's Hulu, it's Peacock, it's whatever. There's so much stimuli. It's not
Mhm.
normal for us to like look at like Joe Schmo and Marie Magoo and Jen Shaw and be like I know what they're all doing. One lives in Illinois, one lives in freaking Germany, and one lives in, the Swiss Alps. And
Yeah.
you shouldn't really be in tune to that many different lives happening all around you,
Mhm.
because it's insanely overwhelming, and it really results in a lack or maybe a loss of like self-identity. Like you don't know what you're
Right.
supposed to be doing, because
And
you're
you
like,
don't
well,
know
I
how to
guess I
fit
could.
into your tribe, so you
Yeah,
feel like I
exactly.
think you feel almost like you have to adjust so much to fit into all of these tribes because that's still that deep-seated, like, if I don't fit in, they're gonna kick me out and I'm gonna starve, even though that
100%.
doesn't
Yeah.
does it's not true anymore.
Right, but it's
Yeah.
that primal fear. It's just
Mhm.
like that human
Yeah.
reptilian, fear, and so your brain is not hardwired to keep up with thousands and tens of thousands of people all at once and see
Mhm.
what everyone else is doing all the time. It's really, yeah, it's quite detrimental to your mental health and your brain's like capacity to understand what your role in all of this is.
Yep.
So just try to keep that in mind and like try to limit your intake of that stuff sometimes. Believe
Yep.
me, I
Yeah, and
fall
ask
victim to it
yourself when
with
you're
all of
looking
us.
at things, ask yourself after you look at it, am I inspired or does it make me feel like at all icky? And if it makes you feel frustrated, not enough, unfollow. There you
Yeah.
like you don't need to follow certain
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly, and so that leads me into my number 1, right? Because you just did
Ooh, do
yours,
it.
didn't you?
Yeah.
Number 1, you waited all day for this. We finally come
Just
to
an
the
hour.
moment, so let me drag it out a little more. Number 1. Okay, all right, here we go, number 1. My number 1 ties back a little bit into your I believe was your number 2, and my number 1 is this: take the shot that no one else is taking. And when
Mm,
I say that, I think when I was newer, I was really nervous to step outside of the box, the
mm,
predetermined box for what pet photography or dog photography was at that time, which, like I said, at the beginning again, was that there weren't many dog photographers
right.
around. There really weren't. But in a way, it made it almost easier then to follow like the 5 people who were dog
Mhm,
photographers. And so you're looking at like what other people are doing. And you're like, oh, okay, this is how dog photography is supposed to be done. This is the
mhm.
precedent that's been set by whoever, right? And so this is the standard, this is the style, these are the locations. This is what you do with a dog photo. Like you put him in front of a colored graffiti wall, or you put him on a rock in a forest, or, whatever.
Right.
And so I was like a little nervous to trust like my artist's voice, which was
Mhm.
incredibly unique. And it was incredibly scary that it was really different. Like what I wanted to do with dogs was really, really different, but it kind of harkens back to those times when I was a little kid and I wanted to like dress fun, or maybe run the opposite way on the soccer field so I could actually score a goal and not be like inside the throng of children running in the wrong direction. But I was too scared of what other people would think. I would, if I ever did step out a little, like kids are brutal, right? Like they would
Right.
make fun of me and they'd be like, "Oh, your shirt's weird. Why do you have sparkle shoes on?" Like, or whatever. And
Yeah,
you'd be
yeah.
like, "Oh, gotta get back in my box. It's
Mhm.
safer here." And I think at the beginning I was afraid to like really try anything outside of that box. And then when I finally did, which was about 3 years in, my entire life changed forever. The first
Mm,
time I ever
mhm,
took a shot that looked like this iconic kind of dog breath photography style, which has, a very like kind of unique look.
mhm.
It's really like it defies a lot of rules. Let's just say that. Like there's a lot of rules, quote unquote, in photography that you're not
Yep.
really supposed to break. Well, I was like, well, these are the rules, and I'm not supposed to shoot anything wide angle and up close, and I'm not supposed to distort things, and I'm not if I use lights, I'm supposed to use them so there's nice shadows everywhere. I'm not supposed to just blast the
Right.
shadows right out of the subject, whatever. But this took a long time to kind of get to the point where we are with the style now. But I didn't even attempt to try it, even though I had it in my head for 3 years, because I was like, this
Mm,
is not how you do dog photography. So
mhm.
what I'm saying is like just take a shot that no one else is taking. Is it weird? Is it wild? Is it gonna get eyes on it, good and bad? Are people gonna be like, she's weird? I don't know what she's doing over there. That's pretty weird. She's putting dogs in sparkle pants. That's weird. Whatever.
I hear a
She
new series.
right, a sparkle. Oh my god, that's a good series for Craig. um, you know, you want
Sparkle
to you want
pants.
to make like crazy hats and do a hat, whatever you want to do. Don't look at, oh well, no one, someone's got to do, hats before I can even think of putting a hat on a dog or whatever. It's like Sophie Gamon's series with the pit bulls and
Mhm.
flower crowns. You had never seen that before, and then it came out, and then suddenly everyone was putting dogs in flower crowns. And like, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. It's incredible. It's a beautiful look. It's amazing. But like, don't you want to be the first? Don't you want to be the
Yeah.
first to do something? I just think it's okay to do the scary thing and step outside that box that you like the little kids at the soccer field put you in when you were 3 or 4 or 5, and step
Mhm.
outside of it and do something weird. And yeah, people might point at you and look at you, and they might say, "Oh, she's kind of a weird girl. She's a little odd." One time, someone commented on a YouTube video of me that I had done a class for Kelby
Oh,
One, and they said, "Yeah, I don't know. I like her work and everything, but I just think she, as a person, is a little dot 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 odd." And
dude,
that
I
really
don't
stuck
know
with
who
me.
the people on YouTube are. Like, if you guys wanna, like, test your resilience to, like, society and
I
people
know.
being jerks, like, put a video up on YouTube and see what people comment. It's
I
unbelievable. Like, who are these people?
I know. Seriously. Like, why not be odd? Why not be the strange one that's doing stuff that's never been seen before? Like I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but like you look at, like I said, Alicia's work, for
Mhm.
Zim oh, I shouldn't try to say
She
it
tried
because
to teach me when I had her on the
I
podcast, and then I could do it. I do this all the time with all of my, like, guests that have unique, like, foreign last names, and I'm like,
yes,
"Okay,
yes.
I got it," and then
Teach
I get on
me.
recording, and I'm like, "But never mind, can you
I
just
know,
introduce
it's the
yourself? I'm sorry."
spotlight. The spotlight is nerve-wracking. Zim Swarovska, and I know that because it's like Swarovski crystals, so I keep
There
thinking
you
of
go.
Swarovski, but it's Swarovska. Anyway, but, she did something different, she did something totally different, and then, it like, everybody, I mean, tens of thousands of people have tried to emulate that style, and, like, you know what? It's beautiful. I get it. It will get you clients. I get it. If you shoot, like, any of, like, the iconic photographers,
Mhm.
whether dog or not, it'll probably get you clients, but, like, do you want to be the 5th or 10th or 4,000th person that has done
Mhm.
it? Why don't you want your own thing? I mean, that is where the magic lies, right? And I mean, to
Mhm.
be fair, I really do think that's where like the massive success lies too, in terms of if you're thinking about clients and you're thinking about running a very profitable business, and you want it to be lucrative and you want to sort of subsist,
Mhm.
not even subsist, you want to thrive on it for the rest of your life, you have to have something that you came up with. And so
Yeah.
that's where I think if I would have taken that step outside the box sooner, then I think I'd be a lot farther along than I even am right now. So, take the weird shot. Just get weird, get wild. That's my number one.
Get crazy. And, come to Shutterhound and get crazy with us there.
Please, please, I will be so excited to see you. Oh my God, I'll be over the moon. September 5th, 6th, and 7th. It's at the Mirage in Las Vegas, and fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I just did an awesome shoot with some Afghan hounds at the Welcome to the Fabulous Las
I
Vegas,
love
Nevada
calling
sign.
them cookies.
Yes, Princess Cookie. Yes,
I
Princess
love it.
Cookie. You
Excellent. I
you
was
know
like, "That
Princess
looks like
Cookie.
Princess Cookie."
Yeah, it's Princess Cookie
Yes.
and Winston. They live in Vegas. These dogs modeled for us when we were in Lake Tahoe, but they actually
Yep.
live in Vegas. They drove to Tahoe 10 hours, or I think it's 8 to 10 hours, something like that, to
Worth
model for
it.
Hound Vision. But anyway, so I did some cool shoots out there, just for like awesome, fun marketing kind of materials for Shutterhound for the conference. But I don't know. I would love to say that we're gonna do it again someday. I don't know. I'm not using that at all as a sales tactic. I'm not sure. The amount of work that this is going to take us is going to be a full year of
Mhm.
8-hour days getting this amazing once in a lifetime event ready. So I don't know if we'll get to do another, but we know for sure this once in a lifetime thing is happening. Our whole community is going to be there. We are so blown away by the response so far. So we'd love to make it like the most epic, most unforgettable party in the desert that you've ever been to. So come and join us at Shutterhound. Again, early bird pricing ends March 31st. If there is a 31st in March, which
There's
Nicole confirmed there
confirmed.
is.
Confirmed. Yeah,
So
Friday. It's a
we'd
Friday,
love to have
31st.
you with us. We'd be so over the moon. Oh my God, I can't wait.
I love it. I love it.
My
Alright, well,
pants are
let's
gonna blast off my
are you
body.
are you gonna wear sparkle pants?
Oh
Can
my
you
God,
wear
I'm gonna
sparkle pants?
try. I'm gonna try.
Can
Craig from
June can Junie wear sparkle pants to her no swimming pool party?
Junie's gonna wear a bikini, maybe a sparkle bikini to her no swimming pool
Oh
party.
my
It,
god,
it
I
is
love it.
dog friendly, by the way, at the Mirage, so you can bring your dogs if you want.
Well, you just sold about 5 more people.
Right?
I love it. Alright, let's go over our top 5, countdown from the back.
Okay.
So number 5, I'll go through mine and then you go through yours, and then we will wrap up sayonara because this has been like half an hour longer than usual, but I knew
Hey.
that was gonna happen and everyone loves it, whatever, they're still listening. Okay, so number 5, shooting, um, no shooting in backyards, or my mistake was shooting in backyards. Number 4, thinking that I'm too expensive. Number 3, feeling that everyone needs to be my client. Number 2, looking only at pet photography for inspiration. And number 1, comparing my journey to others. My biggest mistakes. Don't make them. You've been warned.
So good. So good in every way. All right, here we go. Number 5 for me. Set super clear boundaries part 1. No extra people or kids. Number 4, set super clear boundaries part 2. Do not leave galleries up for too long, and be strong and serious about your time limits, and in setting them. Number 3, don't spend too long on a shit shot. Admit
Love it.
it's not working and move on. Number 2, say a price and then stop talking. And number 1, take the shot that no one else is taking. Step outside of the box that they put you in when you were 6 years old.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, this has been so good. Kaylee, thank you, my friend, for being here with us. Thank
Thank
you, all
you.
of you guys, for sticking around with us for an hour and 13 minutes.
Hey, how are ya?
Just trying to keep you entertained this week. It's all good. And yeah, and definitely go check out shutterhoundconference.com. If you want to join us in Iceland next year, petphotographyretreats.com. We are only doing 1 week because it is going to be epic, 8 days, 7 nights, traveling along, doing crazy activities. It's a bark adventure, different than a workshop, shooting, photographing dogs and
It's
some
gonna be
puffins. and some horses throughout the week.
So unbelievable,
Well,
and
it's gonna be ridiculous.
I've
So,
never
yeah,
been to Iceland.
there's only gonna be room for oh gosh, I don't even know if we've decided if it's 8 or 12. It's not gonna be a lot of people. I think no more than 12. Actually, it's 12. It's 12
Very
people.
exclusive.
Yeah,
Very
12
exclusive, I
people 1 week.
suppose.
That's it. So,
Yeah,
anyway, get on that
that's
list.
amazing.
Come join us in
Holy
Vegas.
moly.
All good
Holy
stuff.
moly, please bring your dogs to Vegas. And if you don't bring your dogs, bring yourself. Thank you.
With that, I'll see you guys next week.
See you later.